But when you walk in, the entirety of their kitchen is behind. It's long and narrow, so it's real small in the front. And they have an entire list of all the different kinds of pies that they make. They do a bourbon chocolate pecan pie, which is amazing. They have praline or praline pies. They have all different kinds of fruit pies, obviously. They have the cherry pie, pumpkin pie. They do lemon meringue and all of these kind of like chocolate chiffon, and I mean all different kinds of very traditional pies, gooseberry, but they do some kind of funky things, and they actually have these sessions where they'll bring people in and kind of do experimental pie flavors and see what you think of them, see if you like them, all that kind of stuff. It's
Let me
really
just say
fun.
that while I'm here, it's praline. When McGraw comes back tomorrow, it can be praline.
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 From the South, they say praline.
Yeah, well, no, exactly. And my art director, Lisa Allen, she's from New Orleans, and she's like, it's not praline.
Oh,
Nobody
no.
said that.
No.
They do here, so
Right.
she's like, it's a praline. I'm sorry.
Pies don't get nearly the attention that cake does. There's no Pie Boss TV show.
Well, because pie is very rustic, and with cake and fondant and all this kind of stuff, you can make it over the top, which is what TV is looking
And
for.
make it really pretty. And
Yeah, but I mean, pie is kind of the next thing. Everybody's very interested in pie because, again, it's a very kind of throwback dessert, and there's not a lot to hide within it. I mean, it's like you have to have awesome ingredients. I'm a big fan of pie because I love the interplay between the crust and the filling. And I love that you can kind of pick the little crust pieces off. I actually just did a, quote, fake Thanksgiving with my family this past
Oh,
weekend.
yeah. How did it go?
It was great. It was great. And so I have to tell you about my turkey. That's my next thing that I'm talking about. But I made this kaboka squash pie, which Feast ran the recipe last year. So if you go on feastmagazine.com, you can find the recipe for this pie. But a kaboka squash is also called a buttercup squash, sorry. And so it's kind of shaped like a spaceship. It's like an oblong thing. But the texture is like a chestnut. So it has this dry texture to it. So I made a goat milk dulce de leche. It was like simmered down for like 4 or 5 hours till the point where it was just this like sweet, thick, syrupy caramel, awesome stuff. And then you put that in with the roasted squash with a bunch of like eggs and cream, and oh my gosh, it was delicious.
Okay, how long did it take you to prepare this?
Longer than you and I would commit to any meal ever.
I mean, that alone.
I made the pie the day before, and really the pie is easy. That's the thing, is like you make the crust, you fill it with a bunch of stuff, you stick it in the oven.
Easy for you.
Well, and the dulce de leche, you just simmer it on the stove. It's just goat milk, sugar, and a cinnamon stick.
That's all, Kelly.
It's it.
Yeah. By the way, here's Kelly making a pie. What's the website for that place in Columbia?
Exactly.
That's Kelly making a pie.
And they would appreciate that. And their pies are amazing. So yes, it's pjpies.com, Peggy Jean's Pies in Columbia, Missouri. You should definitely check it out.
All right, now turkey.
Turkey. So Farmer Girl Meats. And by the way, the November issue of Feast is on stands. And these are both subjects. We've done features on both of these spots. So Farmer Girl Meats, Leslie Moore, grew up on a farm in Kansas. And she, like a lot of farm girls, said, okay, I really don't want to, have my adulthood on the farm. I'm out of here. And so she moved to St. Louis. She went to WashU. She had a corporate career. She had 3 kids and decided that she wanted to go back to the farm, that she wanted to go back to her roots. And so what she has created is essentially a food hub. And she is working with a number of sustainable meat producers. People that raise cattle, pigs, lamb, chicken. And what she's doing is she is making it so that she can get their sustainably raised, grass-fed meat directly to city tables. So when you order from her, she is not a farm herself. When you order from Farmer Girl Meats, the meat is delivered straight to you frozen, because they flash freeze it right after it is processed, and that is the freshest way to get your meat. And so, unless you're the person processing it yourself, and so she will source from the type of meat that you should be eating, no hormones, no antibiotics, again, sustainable. You get it delivered straight to your door. And she has this subscription service where you can order like a box, like a family box with ground beef and chicken and all this kind of stuff. Or you can order individual things like, for example, a turkey. And so I got my turkey from her and it was just under 13 pounds. And I brined it in wood and salt brine, which is also one of the features that we did. They're based in Kansas City. And roasted that thing up in the bottom of my roasting pan. I put a cut up onion and some fresh herbs and some chicken broth. And so as the drippings from the turkey fell into the bottom of the pan, it was already seasoned. And so I just kind of whipped that up into some gravy. When it was done, it was perfect. And I've made turkey stock and turkey tetrazzini and turkey nachos and all that good stuff
Turkey
ever
nachos?
since. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
That sounds good.
It was good.
I want to go back to something you said there because
Yes.
my wife hates the concept of frozen poultry. And of course, if you go to a supermarket and you buy, boneless chicken breasts or chicken tenders or whatever it is, that stuff has been frozen somewhere along the way.
Not
Usually-
necessarily.
well, in many stores, once it gets to the store
Yes.
shelf, it may not be frozen when you buy it, but it has been frozen at some point. And she hates the concept of frozen meat of any kind.
Okay.
I'm curious what you think as a professional about the impact
That's a
on the
great
taste.
question.
Well, on the taste, it depends on how it's frozen and how the meat is handled, how old it is. Because just because it's frozen doesn't mean it keeps indefinitely. The idea is to. So the idea with the way that the meat from Farmer Girl Meats is processed is the moment that it is processed, they flash freeze it. So it is then shipped directly to you. So as opposed to maybe sitting in a freezer at a store for a month or 2 months where it's still fine, you can get fresh chicken. You can get obviously fresh beef. You can get fresh things.
Turkey.
Or turkey. You can absolutely. And I think that what you need to do is just find out where and how that meat was raised. And, I think that a lot of that contributes more to the taste and the texture of the meat than whether it necessarily was frozen and then de-thawed.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's a good question.
All right. Good stuff in Feast Magazine this month. Kat Neville, you can find her at feaststl.com. Look for her on Feast TV.
Feastmagazine.com. We changed our URL.
It's on feastmagazine.com.
Yeah.
And I know we'll talk about this.
Don't go to
probably-
It'll
feaststl.com.
still
That'd be for
resolve
crazy
to
people.
feastmagazine.com, but we changed our URL.
I know as we get closer to Thanksgiving, because you talked about brining
Yes.
your turkey.
Yes.
Yeah.
Either you're a briner or you're not, or you like to fry your turkey.
That's
whatever.
really the great thing that divides Americans. We're either briners or
That's
we're
right.
not.
Well, and so I always say brine your turkey because it seasons. And so if you buy, for example, one of those kind of like a Butterball or something like that from a big grocery store, it actually has already been most likely injected with a saltwater solution. It's essentially brined. And what it does is it helps to ensure that it doesn't dry out when it cooks. It's already seasoned from the inside out. So brining is a very simple process. All you do is you take your turkey and you dunk it in a saltwater solution, essentially, and leave it there overnight, and then rinse that thing off and pop it in the oven. And so what happens is the salt helps to plump up the all the proteins, the protein that makes up the musculature of the turkey, and it does season that bird from the inside out, and so you're less likely to have dry results. And so a lot of people will brine pork chops, they'll brine chickens before they roast them, and also their Thanksgiving turkeys.
You can always brine it the Kelly Jackson way, which is to use the website for the pie place.
Yeah, exactly. And the website for the turkey place.
Well, and you know what?
Or just to go to someone's house and
Yeah, and here's the thing: is that you can get pre-made, awesome, Thanksgiving meals, and we can talk about that next week. But I also want to mention that Balliard's Meat and Provisions is another great place where they haven't quite opened yet in Maplewood, but last year. Do you remember that big turkey we had on the cover?
Yes.
Yes.
It was
So that
beautiful.
was from Buttonwood Farms, and you can get Buttonwood Farm turkeys straight from Balliard's most meat and provisions if you would like to. So check them out online as well.
Kat Neville from Feast Magazine, brought to you every Wednesday by Jimmy's on the Park at 706 DeMont Avenue in Clayton. Call them at 725-8585. Make your reservations now for any time in this holiday season, or go to their website, jimmyscafe.com. Jimmy's has a new happy hour with a new bar menu 7 nights a week, and they do brunch on Sunday. When you call to make your reservation, ask for a seat near one of the fireplaces. Really one of the special things about Jimmy's on the Park. Kat, always good to see you.
Great to see you.
8:51 at the Big 550.